Yes. So we've got a situation where obviously Matt Rule had to address the suspension of senior running back Anthony Grant and junior wide receiver Tommy Hill. So that's the first bit of news. And obviously, Matt Rule kind of downplayed it as being anything too serious. But
Yeah.
it's got to be somewhat serious if you're suspending players from playing. Obviously not in games, but they're going to be suspended, and I guess this is going to be monitored.
There you go. It's about as much as I know. I mean, he said it didn't have anything to do with, he didn't do anything bad. He's just, probably not going to class and not doing the things expected of him, as far as the team rules go. But that's about all we know.
Yeah, well, he mentioned academics.
All he said is suspended too, so we don't know anything about that.
Yeah, so obviously both of these guys are pretty integral to the team, especially Anthony Grant.
Anthony Grant is. Tommy Hill really hasn't done anything, so Anthony Grant. That's the big deal right there. Is Anthony Grant's not in spring practice, and Matt Rule said that he'll come off of suspension when he's met the guidelines that Matt Rule expects of him.
And then, of course, Matt Rule also announced that 3 other Huskers have left the program. Now,
yeah, James Carney and Chris Hickman and Tyreek Johnson. So, yeah.
Now, out of those 3, again, it's not a big impact to the team. The name that stands out is Tyreek Johnson, just because he was a former 5-star, but he didn't do anything.
He hasn't done anything at Ohio State or Nebraska. So, yeah. They all left on their own fruition. It was their own personal decisions. So that's that. Wish them luck.
All right. Appreciate everybody being here at the Voice of College Football. And was there anything else from Matt Rule's news conference that stood out to you before we get to some of these questions?
Oh, tons. I mean, go to, first day under Matt Rule, spring practice, 6 a.m. The guys had to set their alarms for 4:30 a.m. But that's Matt Rule. He's like, they're going to practice in the mornings, but not that early. And this is the thing all about giving them so they didn't have to practice on Saturday before Easter Sunday, so they could get some family time and stuff in case that's what they wanted to do. So, yeah, they got in there early and, for a first day of practice, there's not a lot you can talk about, but I don't know, you got the roster movements for sure. And, he definitely emphasized on a lot of he's said this before that, to him, practice is the most important thing, in becoming a football player and to master your craft. And I like his attitude about, he had talked about pulling a kid aside, like a freshman, and because he'd made a mistake or something and he got upset and pulled him aside and said, "Son, do you want to play in the NFL?" And he's, "Yes." He's like, "Okay, well, you can't be perfect all the time. And, this is what we do. This is why we practice." And that's the big emphasis, that practice is the most important thing. And I think you're going to see a big difference on the field because, practice is emphasized so much. And it's just such a down-to-earth attitude that he has, just dealing with the players. That I don't think you're ever going to see him getting on a player and demeaning him or anything like that, just because that he loves teaching kids. He that's what he really loves doing, teaching kids how to hone their craft. And Yeah, it's pretty cool. Then what else? He was asked about Thomas Fedoni. Because obviously you lose a couple of tight ends from that group, and I mean, James Carney was, he's a local kid. Chris Hickman, that kind of surprised me a little bit, but I think when you bring in, a guy like they brought in, and then you got Thomas Fedoni that's ready to go. That's not a surprise. But he Matt Rule did say that Thomas Fedoni is a little bit upset with him because Coach Rule won't let him go full out, and Coach Rule talked about that a little bit. That he doesn't believe that an ACL injury heals. It takes like 2 years for it to fully heal. So he's keeping Thomas Fedoni a little bit limited during the spring. He just wants to get him to the season, which I think was also kind of a revealing aspect about Coach Rule there, about how he cares about his players and everything. Then he also had a couple other roster movements. Jake Applegate, the standout from Lincoln Southeast, from last year's class that came in, on the defensive side. At safety, he is making a switch over to tight end now, and he's bulked himself up. I mean, he's all 6'6", and he's bulked himself up to about 242 pounds. So he's going to make the switch over to. He played receiver also, at Southeast here. Was an all-state player. So they add him to the tight end room, and then former tight end Brody Tagaloa, they're moving him over to the defensive line. So you got a few other little roster movements going on there, just tweaking things out right now here in the early part of the season, and we'll kind of see how it goes. They practiced again today, which we didn't. We had no access, and then tomorrow. So then we'll be back Thursday, and we actually get a photo video time at practice, which is awesome. When I found out the schedule last Friday or Thursday or Friday, I can't remember what it was, and we get video photo days every week of spring practice. So it's I was screaming, just jumping up and down that much different access than under Coach Frost for sure. So yeah,
Go
ahead.
So do you know if that's going to be is that going to be pretty consistent a couple times each week?
It's on the schedule. Yeah. No, we have 1 day of access each week to view practice. So, yep.
All right. We're happy to bring in John Johnston from Corn Nation as well to talk some Nebraska football tonight. John, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm old and worn out and sad that it's not actually football season.
I don't know if you two know each other, but if you don't, I get the honor of making introductions here. We got Greg Peterson, who's made this thing work here for 115 consecutive weeks from Husker Online, and we got
to talk about the recruiting weekend coming up,
and we got John from
potential program changer
from absolutely. I see that. So before we move on to that, John, did you get a chance to catch Matt Rule's news conference this week or anything? Obviously, just a day or two into spring practice.
I did. I mean, he does so well at speaking at things. I mean, his first mistake was wearing shorts in front of everybody, I think. And if you're gonna, there you go. I'm a nitpicker this time of year. I mean, you better be, he's done everything right except wear shorts. There you go. Okay. But I think, he says the right things. And I think he's, the two guys he's already suspended are, obviously he's going to hold people to a certain standard and not just let people do whatever they want to get on the football team. I don't know. The rest of it, I'm just waiting to, what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting to see who goes where on the offensive line. I understand you guys were talking about the tight ends and the movement there. We'll see who goes into what positions on the offensive line and what they can do with these offensive linemen that are there. Like, can he turn Bryce Benhart into a working offensive tackle? I think that's the biggest key to spring ball for me.
Greg, you had started to tee us up on a big recruiting weekend. So, yeah, Dylan Raiola is bringing some friends with him.
Well, yeah, it's already started. I mean, this is going on, recruiting's opened up big time. And, Nebraska's already had a bunch of guys in here this week. I mean, Stone Sanders, the big quarterback target for next season. Willis McGahee, the fourth, was just here. Caden Massey, big-time defensive guys have already been in here. And, now you have this recruiting weekend coming up, which, I mean, like I just kind of mentioned, this could be a program changer. Obviously, Dylan Raiola headlines it. But, you got 2 5-stars coming in and a whole bunch of 4-star guys, and just go down the list. I mean, this is huge. And like I said, already yesterday, Matt Rule's got a bunch of prospects already attending the first day of practice. And, we don't know what happened after today and stuff. But, this has been a big target for a long time, for at least the last month about this weekend. And, Dylan Raiola right now, he's in Georgia right now. Flew down to Atlanta, went right to Georgia Tech, and is now at Georgia, and then he's flying here for the big junior day event. And this is gonna really set the mark for this recruiting class with what's going on right now. And it kind of overshadows the start of spring practice in our minds.
Do you think that's fair?
What's fair?
Well, I mean, it's recruiting. It's for 2024. It isn't going to affect anything for 2023. I realize Dylan Raiola and getting the recruits in is a huge deal, but that's not this season.
Okay. I don't think you know what you're even talking about there, bro.
Yeah, I'm talking about now. I'm talking about this August starting to win football games.
Talking about recruiting and building your program, which is
right.
But this is what you do to be good. And if you're going to downplay recruiting, then why are you even here? Seriously.
Because I focus on the now. I'm not focusing on 2024.
Where's your media?
I think it's a thing everybody is talking about, Dylan Raiola, and I get that he's a huge recruit. He's bringing guys with him.
God.
But
Dude.
again, it doesn't have anything to do with 2023. And I would like to see Matt Rule win.
We're talking about 2024 and beyond. I mean, 2023 upcoming season is going to be what it is. And
I'd like to see us get to a bowl game.
Well, yeah, I guess we all would, right? Where did you find this clown, Mark?
Well, Greg, let's not be insulting anyone on the show. That's
yeah.
Not,
well,
that's
we just know what he's talking about.
Yes. Well, I would say.
Never seen him ever.
I'll speak my piece here for a second. So I would certainly agree. Yes, recruiting is the lifeblood of every program. So
it is.
And certainly you got to recruit 24/7, 365. That's just, you got to be full throttle. Recruiting is everything.
Get on this show.
And it's impressive what Rule has done with the number of recruits he's brought in and the caliber they are. But again, I guess when I look at this spring, it's a big deal, but it's not affecting 2023. And that's what spring ball is usually about. I think, for me at least, it's about who's going to be on this roster, who's going to be in the starting positions, who's going to contribute to the team this year. So I'm not putting down the recruiting stuff. I just don't see it as a huge story as everybody else does. Because the fact of the matter is these guys are not going to be commits until they commit at the end of next year.
Bro,
So
right now, hey, they've had 2 practices now with a brand new coaching staff and 39 new players on the roster. So they're all trying to get to know each other right now. It's not about who's going to be in the starting positions right now. All right?
no, but we're going to start figuring out who goes where.
It's going to take some time, and nothing is ever settled in spring ball. All right? Fall camp is where it starts. All right? This is preseason. The spring game is just a put on show. It's a glorified practice. And there's a lot of guys that don't participate in spring because you're trying to heal them up for when the real stuff starts. All right. To piggyback on that, we didn't even touch on with Anthony Grant being suspended, and now Gabe Ervin is now 100% healthy, and there's going to be a big reemergence of Gabe Ervin. So if there's something you want to watch, there you go. Something else, Heinrich Harburg is now open to changing positions, okay? He's one of the fastest guys on the team, and he's talked with the coaching staff, and he's completely open to move into a receiver spot or a tight end spot. So, these are the kind of things that we should be talking about instead of your expectations about spring ball. Right?
Well, spring ball is important. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my take on it. Recruiting is nonstop. It has to be if you're going to be a championship program. You just
60 days a year.
It's all the time. But
why do you think all of us are in business for the websites that we work for?
And sure, that doesn't have to take away from the team's preparation during the spring. Both go on at the same time. All these teams across America are bringing in big recruits on these recruiting weekends. But I understand John wants to look at 2023. We're only going to find out about Dylan Raiola and the rest of these recruits over the next several months when they commit. And obviously signing day is not until December. And John is just looking forward to this season and seeing this current team improve.
Yeah, exactly.
I believe that's how I'm interpreting.
I mean, we all know that Matt Rule's first season at Temple and first season at Baylor were disasters. I'm not really ready for another disaster. I'm not saying Matt Rule he has to win now, but I don't think that the pieces are terrible. Here's how I tell people. Right now it's March 21st. If you're a Nebraska football game fan, you should be looking at a 6-6 team next year. By the end of this month and the beginning of April, it should be 7-5. After the spring game, you should have drank enough Kool-Aid to be at 9-3, and by the start of fall camp at 10-2. If you're really a loyal Nebraska fan, that's where your expectations should be for Nebraska football in this coming year. So I want to see what he's going to say and which receivers are going to be out there. I would disagree with Greg that we are going to settle some things in spring. We're going to settle 12, 13 more scholarship players have to go, and probably about 20, 30 walk-on guys. So there is going to be a lot of settling out. The portal doesn't open until May 1st, so we're not going to know who's really just going out into the world to go somewhere else. But this spring, there is going to be a lot of roster attrition. There's going to be a lot of change. So there is a lot going on.
And we get the first glimpses of a quarterback battle that I would not expect that to be decided until deep into August.
Well, Casey Thompson and Logan Smothers aren't even cleared to throw the ball right now. So, and probably won't be.
Well, and we have, 6 scholarship players on quarterback? How many of those will still be there after spring camp and done, spring practice is done? It'd be shocking if all of them stayed. So, we're still probably going to hear about them, I guess, see something about them. See Jeff Sims, what he's doing. And who is Richard Torres? Nobody has even heard the name Richard Torres for months now.
Yes, we have.
Really? Do you say it to yourself in the mirror in the morning, Greg? When have you heard the
Matt
name
Rule's
Richard?
been asked about him in press conferences, bro. Seriously, he loves him, and he's finally cleared and healthy. What else do you want to know?
I want to know if he's going to play.
He's going to be in the race. Yes, he's definitely that. Everybody is in the race right now.
Well, who do you think is going to come out on top?
Casey Thompson, man.
Oh, I go with that. I think he's a pretty serviceable quarterback. All right.
Folks, we appreciate you being here on Huskers Live. We do this every Tuesday at 6 Central. And we got Greg Peterson here, of course, from Husker Online. We got John Johnson. You can catch his work there at Corn Nation. John, tell us a little bit about what goes on there at Corn Nation.
Well, we're the SB Nation site for Nebraska football and Nebraska sports. My goal is for us to cover all of the sports. Nebraska fields 22 sports, so we try to cover basketball. We do wrestling coverage probably better than anybody. Baseball right now, Nebraska's playing Creighton, so we try to cover the gamut. And then we also have a YouTube channel. We do a live show on Monday night, and we do Wednesday or Thursdays. I mean, our goal with our website is to have a lot of fun with Nebraska sports. And I guess for us, we're probably the one site that doesn't take things as seriously as everybody else does, because this is all Nebraska football, particularly, is something we all love. And we probably shouldn't get so angry or upset about it all the time when we do. And God knows over the past few years, I've had my moments of upsettedness. So, I'm looking forward to a 2023 season of football that's going to be good.
Well, the main thing that gets people angry is losing. So that's happened a lot over the last 5 or 6 years. So you're just basically saying that in the midst of losing, kind of taking a bit of a lighter side to say, none of us like the losing, but we'll make it.
Well, we're still here. That's kind of it. You know what I mean? The same goes for basketball. I know that you guys probably don't talk a lot about basketball, but the same goes for the basketball program. Hoiberg's first 3 years were pretty rough, and this year was rough up until the end, and then it was really rough right at the end. So, we stick with that too.
Greg's at Husker Online video right here on YouTube. What's available there, Greg? I got to think this Matt Rule news conference.
Yeah, all of our practice reports, everything. Same as usual.
And there's really no way getting back to the
30,000 subscribers strong.
Very good. Very good. And getting back to this Anthony Grant situation, we only know what was stated, and we can link it to academics, I guess, because that was mentioned in it. So it's not, when Matt Rule says it's not serious, that means he didn't do anything illegal. Apparently, it doesn't appear anything like that. So it's all within this school situation. So we would think that if he does the right things, gets his grades back in order, whatever he needs to do academically, that he's going to be back on the field in August, if not sooner. And that this is going to kind of blow over, and he's still going to have the opportunity to retain his number one spot.
Well, we all know Anthony Grant's, story. Being a stud freshman coming out of high school, and then getting in a little bit of trouble, and then moving on to JUCO, and then back here to for a second chance. And so I think that just kind of shows you that he's had some problems, just kind of being a college kid, or a young man, and I think there's just some lack of discipline that's been going on in life, and I think Matt Rule's trying to take him aside and give him every opportunity, because obviously he's an immense talent, and you want to give the kid every chance he possibly can. But in the meantime, like I said, that opens up opportunities, especially for a guy like Gabe Urban, who was the number one guy and then got hurt, and then comes back last year and was never at 100%. And but now he's bigger, faster, and stronger. I mean, he's looking great. When we saw him yesterday, he was looking like $1 million. So, yeah, I mean, that it is what it is, and there's a lot of running backs in that room as well. That guys that are waiting for a lot of opportunities, and like another guy like Ramir Johnson, who'd been the number one, another previous number one guy. That Matt Rule loves him as well, and you got a couple of the other guys too. So there's going to be a lot of competition, and that's probably one of the better things to be watching during the spring. I mean, obviously everybody's going to be looking at the quarterbacks, but like I said, there's two of them that can't even throw right now, so that kind of changes things around. And another one that's kind of thinking about switching positions. And, obviously, you want to see how the offensive line starts to develop as well. So, yeah, there are a lot of things to be looking at during the spring. And like I mentioned, Thursday, we're going to get our first look at all these newcomers and everything, and we can kind of size things up for ourselves. And, instead of just taking the head man's word for it, since we haven't been able to see anything yet. But, I didn't want to downplay spring ball at all, but going forward here, we'll see. Tomorrow's pro day too, so we'll be down there for pro day. Be plenty of video on that out. We'll be down there. I'll be down there about 10 in the morning after they get out of the weight room, and we're able to shoot video of the whole thing. So we'll have all the NFL prospective guys up there tomorrow if they do interviews afterwards as well. So a lot going on right now before they they practice, and then they have a week of spring break and then come back. So that's always kind of awkward. Kind of a new thing to Matt Rule as well. But we'll see how things progress here. It's all looking right now. It is what it is. And I think another point too we haven't even talked about was the new defensive scheme. We talked to Luke Reimer yesterday. Another guy that got banged up towards the end of the year last year and was limited, and now he's back 100% healthy too, and he really likes the new scheme with the 4-4-3 that he thinks it's much more of an attacking defense and a lot more blitzes, and so it sounds like that these guys are liking the new scheme and everything. But I'll really be interested to hear from some of the defensive backs about what they think about the new scheme as well. So especially the safeties.
We really haven't heard anything about the offense, have we? I mean, what they're going to actually do?
Obviously, you're gonna be a run heavy offense, and you're gonna utilize a fullback now. But from everything that we've really heard, most of they're all kind of still kind of trying to decide exactly 100% the way they're going to go with things until they actually get on the practice field and stuff. Like I mentioned, I mean, yesterday was the first day that they've been able to be on the field with them besides just winter workouts and just watching winter workouts and stuff. And I mean, offensively, yesterday was the first time Matt Rule had even got to see any of his quarterbacks throw the ball. So we're starting here at ground zero basically, and going to have to move forward here baby steps for the next month and see what kind of product they end up with here on April 20th.
Greg, what goes through your mind when I say the name Christian Jones, 6'3", 190 linebacker, West Side, Omaha, Nebraska? There was a few people in the comment section early in the show that were asking about him.
Hey, he's a good-looking kid. We talked to him, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago or something like that. He's a transfer into West Side, and a really stout kid that can run the field sideline to sideline, and he's a hitting machine. And he's got a lot of potential here, and can't wait to see him play here this season.
Awesome stuff. John at Corn Nation, catch his work and the rest of the staff there covering Nebraska athletics. And of course, it's baseball season right now. Other things going on, but football spring practice. John, anything else that you want to add tonight?
I'm going to ask Greg, what do you think? Do you think Chubba Purdy will still be here in the fall?
No, I don't.
I don't.
I really
so either.
don't. I think there's just it's too big of a hill for him to climb. Being behind Casey Thompson and Jeff Sims before they even go into spring practice. I mean, penciled in that way. I hate saying that for a kid that's already, he's been at Florida State, he's been here, and man, you talk about a journey, man. And especially with his brother's success that he just had as a rookie in the NFL. So I got to think in his mind that he needs to go somewhere where he's going to be the man. And obviously this year, I don't think he has a chance to be the man unless a couple guys go down in front of him. But we'll see. I mean, that's a good point. It's probably a really big spring practice or, whole spring ball for Chubba Purdy right now.
I would think
himself. Yeah.
I would think, I don't know, Logan Smothers and, Torres have both stuck around too. I guess it's a kind of amazing to me.
Torres has been hurt. He's not had a
Right.
chance. I mean, he's still a freshman. He's a redshirt freshman because he was hurt. He got hurt his senior year in high school. I was at the game down in San Antonio when he got hurt. He didn't play another game of high school football after that. And then he came here and was not cleared medically to play. So yeah, that's his situation. This is going to be his first season actually where he's eligible to compete for the job.
I think it's been pretty amazing that.
Let me tell you, he has one of the biggest cannons for an arm that I have ever seen from a young man, maybe besides Dylan Raiola. And he was mentored by Tommy Armstrong. That's why he came here. And Tommy Armstrong right now is the offensive coordinator at Lincoln North Star High School right here, and plays for the Omaha Beef in the Arena League. So Richard Torres, he's 100% in for competing for this job, and this is going to be his first opportunity to actually be on the field, as an active player.
I think it's pretty amazing that Rule has kept all these guys together as long as he has. I know we're way over the scholarship limit and we're way over the roster limit. But the fact that these guys have even stuck around, and like Alante Brown came back out of the portal, and who was it? Isaiah Garcia Castaneda, and I'm trying to think of the third one that came. Xavier Betts is back. The fact that he
wasn't in the transfer portal.
Right, but he was out of football. I mean, he's brought him back, and to see who's gonna, who's all gonna compete to be on the roster in the fall. That's an amazing organization and coaching in itself.
Well, if you've ever been in the room with Matt Rule, he has a specific aura that kind of comes out of him that makes you really, like him and want to be around him, and you're very interested in everything that he has to say. And I can't say that I've ever been around another head football coach that has those characteristics in my 20-plus years of being in the business and being around a lot of college football head coaches, not just Nebraska ones, but all across the country.
Well, that's a big statement to make. So Matt Rule, obviously, doing a great job on the recruiting trail to date. he salvaged this last class, and he's gotten off to a great start in 2024. And of course,
Yeah, like I said, Mark, I mean, you cannot overemphasize the importance of this weekend, this March 23rd to 25th Junior Day weekend that Nebraska is hosting. I mean, this is probably the biggest recruiting weekend ever under any head coach. And I mean, if you go back, looking back into the 90s, Bill Callahan had days like this and put together classes that had first round NFL draft picks, second round, third rounders. I mean, all in the same class. And you have this potential right now with this recruiting weekend, with the just the tons of highly ranked athletic players on both sides of the ball, that you could potentially, if Dylan Raiola pulls the trigger, you could potentially land 4 or 5 guys that are NFL draft picks in this class. So that's how big this weekend is.
What if he doesn't? What can I ask that? What if Dylan Raiola decides to not come to Nebraska? I realize it's raised the profile quite a bit. But...
Well, yeah, you'd move on. I mean, what else can you do? Let me say this, is that he's been here more than anywhere else. I mean, we all know this. We know that his dad loves this university, always will. And his dad's trying not to influence his decision. But Uncle Donnie is here as well. You're very familiar with everything that's going on here. You have state-of-the-art facilities almost finished. And you got the firepower, you got the NIL that nobody else can match. I don't care if, Lincoln Riley and him talk every day on the phone. He's still, if he goes to Los Angeles, he's not going to make anywhere near the NIL money he makes here. To Georgia as well.
Do we know that?
We know that, yes. That's a proven fact. Dylan Raiola comes here, he's going to be making way more than all of us combined, easily.
Well, that I'm not discounting. I'm discounting whether maybe.
Yeah, come on, man.
You know how much the boosters will throw money in for this guy? No, every single business in the state and out of state are going to be dropping money on him. It's not even funny. That's the big factor that people don't think about. Sure, he's going to make NIL money anywhere else, but just it would be unprecedented here for what he's going to bankroll. But, I hate to say that about an 18-year-old kid, 17, 18-year-old kid thinking about making that kind of money. That's just kind of the world we are in college football these days, but it is what it is. And Nebraska football fans, they have nothing else that they love more than their football team. And that's from the lowest income football fans to the highest figure fans that, are multimillionaires. So that's just the way it is. It probably won't ever change, not in my lifetime, at least.
Well, I hope not. The USC fans I've heard from would say their counter to that would be that Lincoln Riley is the quarterback whisperer, and
right.
he would be
Course.
passing up so much money because he'd get drafted higher, and Lincoln Riley blah blah blah. Except that Lincoln Riley never has a defense, but I guess.
Have you ever actually seen Dylan Raiola throw the ball?
No, I'll be honest, I haven't.
You cannot coach the talent that he has. I mean, it is undescribable in my mind. I mean, he was 16 years old and he throws the ball 80 yards on a rope. He is freaky good, freaky athletic for, a high school quarterback right now.
Well, I don't know that anyone's.
It doesn't matter where he goes. He is going to be a first-round draft pick in the NFL, bottom line.
Well, first-round NFL draft selections aren't such just because they can throw the ball 80 yards. They got to show leadership ability. They got to show decision making and all that.
And he has all that. That's the thing.
Well,
He
we'll
has
see if he's got it, and he's got to show that at the next
Look,
level.
At the level he has all that.
So this is the point to be made. Lincoln Riley has a proven track record of developing NFL quarterbacks, and
absolutely, yes.
And you know, each situation, whether you look at Georgia, USC, and Nebraska, have obvious advantages to each one of them, and the advantages to USC versus Nebraska are just obvious on either side. And it's not that Matt Rule can't develop and his offensive staff can't develop a first-round NFL quarterback. It's just that Lincoln Riley has the last 7 years to look at and show.
Well, look what Marcus Satterfield did with one of Lincoln Riley's former quarterbacks last year, Spencer Rattler at South Carolina. So I think he's,
he didn't do much with him.
Well, he had a great year.
He was okay.
I don't know I think if you could do anything with Spencer Rattler, you're doing pretty well, Mike.
I'm just saying that it's not like he's not going to come here and learn the position.
Sure. I would just say that Spencer Rattler had a better year under Lincoln Riley than he did under.
Well, whatever. Yeah, apples and oranges. But he was successful last year at South Carolina, as opposed to kind of the way things ended up at Oklahoma. I'll just put it that way. But it's always going to be, the fact is, though, obviously we know Lincoln Riley, what he can do with quarterbacks, right? But also you're in Los Angeles and being like the highest recruited player since who can remember, you go to Los Angeles and nobody really cares. You come here and you're a god for life, seriously. It's a big difference.
That is good and bad. I think if you're 18 years old.
Right. That's a horrible decision to have to make. Seriously. I mean, it's good, but it's like got to be really hard. Seriously. And especially when your family is connected to one of the universities as opposed to the other one. But like I said, you know what? It doesn't matter what school he goes to. He's still going to be one of the top guys coming out for the NFL draft when it's time for him to come out.
Well, we talked about this last week, and I've got to think that the pull of being a legacy and having all that pressure on you at Nebraska for some people would be a complete repellent. Like, I don't want that. I'm going elsewhere. Or to some, they would embrace it and want that. Well, he obviously is factoring that in as a positive, or else he would have ruled out Nebraska and just said, I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yep. And how many times has he been here? I mean, I think 4 official visits now this will be, and then, umpteen million unofficials that he's taken. And, he grows up in a household that Nebraska football is on each and every week. And there's a dedicated Nebraska room in his house. A lot of that factors in too. Cause that he grew up a Nebraska football fan since he knew what football was. So yeah, for him to, it's weird to think about how he's gone through this recruiting process about committing to Ohio State and then decommitting, and always having Nebraska right there in the top 3. And now, like, a couple other teams have taken over his top spots, but Nebraska's still right in there. So we'll see. That's why this weekend is so huge and what comes out of it, because it's time. I mean, he's not going to wait much longer to make his decision. It's not going to go past May. There's no way it does.
Why do you say that?
Because that's what top quarterbacks do. Positions close on other teams because they move on, and your options start getting more and more limited. And you're a key factor, especially a guy like him. You're a key factor in that school's recruitment the rest of the season, because when you're a guy like that, you draw other big-time recruits to want to come and play with you. So these guys like Arch Manning from last season, they get this done April, May at the latest, and then they move on to their senior season and put recruiting behind them. And then you become the ambassador to your school for the rest of your recruiting class.
All right, folks. Appreciate you being here.
Yep. Okay.
Hey, John.
Are you done? Okay.
John, thank you. And again, everyone, catch John's work at Corn Nation on SB Nation. John, thanks so much for dropping by and talking some Huskers football with us.
Thank you. Take care.
You too, John. All right, folks. Thanks for being here for another Tuesday night. Catch Greg's work at Husker Online video right here on YouTube and on huskeronline.com. And we'll make it on back hopefully next Tuesday at 6 Central. Greg, anything else?
I don't think so. I think we got everything that I can check off in my brain, I guess.
Excellent. All right, folks, appreciate you being here. We'll see you next Tuesday. Bring some folks with you next Tuesday, and we'll see you back here for Nebraska Huskers Live.